putting together a lap guide for Sebring, the full course in the Dallara P217 LMP2. It's the IMSA's here in a couple weeks for Endurance Series. I got a couple people that haven't really raced it before, so it's just kind of a turn-by-turn guide, not necessarily a fast lap or anything like that, but just kind of a guideline, where to brake, gears to use, and whatnot. So don't expect top split times or anything out of this. I honestly couldn't even tell you what lap times are. Anyways, this is going to be headed down the main straight here. So you're going to get out towards the wall here on the right. You'll get really close to the wall here. It's kind of going to be where you're comfortable with it. I think you can go to the end of the wall before you start braking. But you need braking and turning in. You may need to do it a little bit before the end of the wall. Like here, you can see right about here is where I'm gonna start lifting out of the throttle and turning in. Yellow line here is a decent guideline. Keeps you from getting really close to the wall. This track's extremely bumpy. I get down to third gear here. You're gonna exit out to the right. Up to this next combo. Oh, this track's pretty good because there's cones. Triple cone is my common braking point for a lot of this. So I'm going to brake at the triple cone down to second gear, I believe. Nope, I actually get down all the way to first. I think second may just be bogged down too much. I'm going to go for a little bit of a later apex here and then cut it in. You can look how aggressive these curbs are. You pretty much want to avoid all curbs on this track except for like one section. But if you hit that, it definitely upsets the car. So you want to try it and get close to it, but avoid it. First gear through here. I get up to second. I think I leave it in second here. You want to get out to the right here before you start your turn in. And again, avoiding this curb here before I start applying some throttle. You got to be patient in this turn. It feels like you can carry more speed than you actually can. You just got to be patient and not run wide here on exit. You can see the curves here are pretty aggressive as well. You don't want to jump over them. This is going to probably be one of your heavier braking zones. You're going to get up to fifth gear here, maybe even sixth. Nope, up to fifth. I believe I do it at the 4 cones here or where the white line is across the track. Yep. Now I'm going to get all the way down to first gear. Here's a turn where you can use some curb. You don't want to use too much of it. You don't want to necessarily hit your tires in the dirt or anything. Matter of fact, yeah. So I'm pretty much using a lot of it. I probably would maybe use a little bit less, but that works. Gotta be patient, get back into the throttle again. Because if you get into it too early, you're gonna go across this grass here. You're gonna end up clipping this curb here. This curb's fine. You can see how it's flat. Flat out through here. Still flat out. Alright. 4 cones is safe. You might be able to do closer to 3 cones. Yeah, I do it at 4, maybe a little bit after it. Get down to second. Again, avoid this curb. It's got that incline to it. You don't want it to upset the car. Actually, I do go down to first gear to just get a little bit of a better drive off. I think second was bogged down too much. Barely clip this curb, if at all. It is pretty aggressive, so it will try and shove you off to the right. Flat out through here. There's quite a bit of runoff here, but you don't want to go too crazy because you want to get back to the left. This next turn is kind of tricky because you're still coming through this corner a little bit as you're making it to the braking zone. Somewhere between the 3 and the 2 cones. Get out to the left. I'm starting to brake here. You want to get as close to this curb on the left as possible and turn in late. You can see I'm fighting the wheel here. I actually miss the apex here by quite a bit. But you don't want to clip the curb, but you want to get your right tires on that yellow line if possible. Second gear, I exit way too wide there. I don't think it counted as a off track, but that could be pretty disastrous if you're not careful. This section's flat out. It'll feel pretty weird, but it is flat out. All right, you're making it through here. 3 cones again. Start braking. Get down to, I think ideally you use second. I use third here. I think second's the better gear, but you want to hug this curb to the right as much as possible. You can get up on this curb a little bit, because after this turn, I think second through here is the ideal thing. But you're going to go really wide here. This is all fair game, and this is going to give you a good angle to get a run down the long straightaway here. Down to second gear, or stay in second gear if you weren't already. You can get your right sides on this flat curb here. That's not too big of a deal. The runoff rumble strip here is all fair game, and it won't really upset the car. You don't want to get out onto the dirt, and you absolutely need to be back on the track before the end of this strip, or else it's an automatic off track. You'll get up to 6th gear here. This turn, this is Sunset Bend, I believe is the actual name for it, is interesting. It's extremely bumpy. The 2 cone is kind of the reference point I use here. I will start turning in there, but you can see I'm still staying in the throttle. It's not until I start going around the bend some, maybe even at this line where the 1 cone is, that I'm going to get close to that wall, but then I'm actually angling out here to set up a really late apex. You can kind of see it up here. I'm actually going to use, this is going to be silly, but I'll pull up a Google Map overhead view of it. So as you're headed around this bend here, that's where you're setting up the initial braking. And then you're going to end up going kind of out here. So running wide and then cutting it back in to get a runoff. You can just see the corner itself is very oddly shaped. This track was a former airstrip, so a lot of this is just the runways and whatnot. Anyways, I figured I would do a little bit of a guide to kind of let you see more what I'm talking about. I think the wider the better here. I think I'm hugging in too closely here. 3rd gear, there's a really brutal bump when you get down low here, right there. You're just kind of partial throttle, letting it roll through here before you're getting back into the throttle, and you're exiting all the way out to the left here without getting onto the grass. And that takes you back down the long straightaway. I'm going to go back a couple laps. You can see my laps are kind of inconsistent, but I'm going to let a few play through so you can kind of see mistakes I make. By no means were these perfect laps. You're going to need to just run some laps, and it's a bit of a flow track. Once you've run it, it's not as daunting as maybe watching this video. You're probably like, I don't know about this. But let me go back to, I'll let these 3 laps consecutively play, and then I'll end it there. Track 4th gear there, 3rd gear's here. 3 cones, get it down to 2nd or 1st. Try and avoid the curbs. Okay, yeah, so that's 1 turn. When I was talking about you need to be patient going around that bend, I was not patient, and that's the result of it. We'll brake at the 4 cones here. Down to 1st gear, you can use the curb here. Be patient, get back into it. flat out section all the way up until the braking zone right here, between the 4 and the 3. Second gear down to first, avoid the curb, clip it just barely, get out to the left here, between the 3 and the 2, second gear. Oh, I hit the curb more than I wanted to there. You can kind of see how it upsets it. Flat out through here. Might be able to hear my cat meowing. And then use my 2 cone as like my turn in, and then once I cross that 1 cone line is where I'll start my braking and kind of getting out wide. Yeah, you can, there's pretty big bumps in there, but I use up all the track there. Getting towards the end of this wall here is where you're going to start your turn in and braking. Down to 3rd gear. Let's see if I make a mistake here. Down to 1st gear here. That's a wider entry. That's good. You get a little bit crossed up there. I do think that was an off track. But 4 cone. Down to 1st gear. You can use curb. Ran wide there, which hurt my exit, which gives up quite a bit of time here. Down to 1st. Did it late there. Down to 2nd, avoid the curb. I clipped it a little bit there, not as much as the lap before. You want to try and avoid it altogether. Flat out through here, between the 3 and the 2, closer to the 3, get it down to 2nd gear, keep it to the right, and push out wide, down to 2nd, clip the curb on the inside. That was an off track. So I was talking about you need to get back onto the track before the end of that strip. I didn't there. It was very minor, but that wasn't off track. 2 cone, turn in. Brake at the 1 line. I get way too close to the inside wall there. Give up a ton of time. The exit's the best. So that's how not to run an optimal line through there. And then this ends up being my fastest lap. So yeah, I get a little crossed up there, so I do give up some time there. These were the first 6 or 7 laps I had run with this car at this track, so by no means is this after a long amount of practice. All right, let me know if you have questions or comments.